Yep, and then switch over to my screen. All right, we are live. And hey, we were gonna go fly. We've flown every day the last couple days. And we told you we would fly every day, that it's good enough. So let me tell you the weather and why I'm standing here, and we're gonna do a video inside, talk about some controls, some rules to fly by. We're gonna cover a question from somebody interested in ground school. I checked the weather. Temperature dew point, 5 and 4, okay? Anytime you have a temperature dew point that close together, you know the weather ain't gonna be good. And they're reporting 4 miles visibility, 800 broken, 4,000 overcast, and rain. And I told Heather, we ain't flying today.
That was easy.
Okay? And that's only going around the pattern. But if I can't get up to a good 500 feet, if they're saying broken 800, you're probably gonna have some stuff out there scooting around at 400 or 500 feet. We wanna be 500 feet in the pattern on downwind, so you know what? It ain't worth it. And if they say 4 miles reporting, you're gonna get up there and it's probably gonna be more like 2 miles. I'm telling you from 20 years of experience, whatever they're reporting, expect it to be worse, right? Expect for the worst, hope for the best, but we're not going flying. We got stuff we can teach inside, so I told Heather, we ain't going.
That was easy.
And that's what you all need to do. When it's iffy, you don't go. All right? So we're gonna have a little fun today. We're gonna cover first a question, and we get this at least once or twice a week, which I'm kind of surprised out of all the years we've been doing this and all the information we have there for free, but that's okay, it's a good question. If you wanna bring up the other camera, Heather, and then you wanna just follow me along through this. This young man's question is, I was wondering if you could provide more information on your private pilot online course. I am currently working for my private pilot certificate. Awesome, good for you. And am about 6 hours into it. This is good, right? I get it at 6 hours, he's getting overwhelmed. And I have all the books needed for studying, which is a lot. Then that's good. If you have all the books, you're at least at 6 hours, you got a lot of books and you're getting ready to go. And I was wondering how your course differs from me using some discipline and reading all of the different textbooks myself. Thank you in advance for all your help. All right? It is a great question, and it isn't obvious for someone just starting out. And I could go on for the next hour and give you reason after reason, but to answer this young man's question, I just grabbed a bunch of books and thought, okay, you probably got a PTS and you got a FAR-AIM and you might have the private pilot manual and you might have a weather handbook. Yeah, you probably got a whole big pile of books, okay? It's overwhelming for anybody and can be. The reason I designed helicopter and land ground school is because years ago I had to go through all those myself, and I had instructors that did so-so on the ground school, and I failed my first test, my first check ride, because I had a lack of knowledge and because I was nervous. I had good knowledge, but it wasn't ironclad. I didn't have the confidence, and I failed the test, okay? So that's why after I became an instructor, I built online ground school. It's to take this big pile of books that you have, that you already have in front of you, answering his question. You're still gonna have to learn how to use these books. You're gonna need to use or learn how to look things up. You are gonna use them for some of the study. But if you're trying to use self-discipline, you can do it. Let me hands down say, anybody out there that wants to learn completely on their own with just the books, you can do it. And there are people that do it that way. And I've had guys say, well, you know, I don't need your ground school. I can do it on my own. And that's right. Anybody that wants to do it on their own can absolutely do it on their own, okay? The idea behind helicopter land ground school is you get a big pile of books. And let's just, I'm gonna make up an example. Let's say this gentleman's got 6 hours so far. Hopefully he's done a little bit of ground school with his instructor, and maybe that's even going okay so far. Helicopter and land ground school is a full course for private pilot. There's 20 lessons. Each lesson may have anywhere from 5 to 12 videos, and they go through the whole entire course step by step, and we base a majority of the course on the helicopter flying handbook, which you should already have, okay? So through audio and video cues, us speaking to you, myself along with a team of instructors, we're going through these sections in the helicopter flying handbook, and we're talking about all these different topics. So you can read on your own, you can do one-on-one with your instructor, and then you can be using these audio video cues in Helicopter Flying Ground School to watch the videos and help you learn that knowledge. In the very beginning of the course, we tell you how to use the FAR aim, how to study with the FAR aim, how you don't have to know the whole entire manual, but you have to know at the private pilot level the sections you do need to look at, and we cover all that to help you with the overwhelm of just that one book. And we talk about the books you need. So not only do we help you get with the study habits, we just start going through every single course or every single part of the private pilot, and we go through everything, aerodynamics and weather. We do the helicopter flying handbook. We have Robinson R22, Robinson R44, Enstrom sections. So it's a systematic approach to help you learn the information step by step, going through each course, video by video. It tracks your progress. You can see how many videos you've watched, what you haven't, how much of each video you have watched. So not only do you go through the course of training, you can watch your progress, and you can always go back and rewatch any part of it that you need to, but we're guiding you along the whole way. So to answer your question, young man, I'm going to send you the video link to this as soon as we get done. That's how we're going to help you, is we're helping you. We're not eliminating this pile of books, but we're helping you learn the information. We're helping you cement the knowledge. We're helping you make these things not so overwhelming, just like the helicopter flying handbook. When I started years ago, I went and took a lesson. The guy, here, take this book home and read it, and come back in a week. I went home and started reading it, and it's pretty overwhelming when you first start reading through this book. You kind of need the guidance of someone, an instructor or whoever, to help you decipher a lot of this stuff. Some things will make sense to you. Some things you'll read it and you go, in the beginning you're going to go, what are they talking about? But with time and experience and through study, you'll learn what these things mean. And getting out in the aircraft and flying dual with your instructor, as you're reading and learning and you're in the aircraft, light bulb will start coming on. You'll go, oh, dissymmetry of lift's making sense. The angle of attack makes sense. Ground resonance, okay, I get it. These things, once you're in the aircraft and you're seeing them firsthand, it's just going to help make those things come more clear. So I know you're listening, Heather. Anything you think of what you hear me say day to day with people, you know, that's what it's here for. And you can do it at home, in your pajamas,
visual cues,
on the couch, iPhone, iPad, tablet, laptop, desktop, and then we have a new mobile app that you can download from within the site. Once you become a member, there's a blue bar at the top that says download the app. And our ground school works on those devices even without the app. The app just makes it even better. It makes it easier to access. It lays it out real nice and smooth. So how does it differ between self-study? Self-study is overwhelming, and you're more than welcome to study on your own. But some schools have great ground school problems. They have ground school problems, but they also have really good courses a lot of the time, and you'll have good instructors. Sometimes our members will say, I'm happy with the ground I'm getting at my flight school. I want Helicopter on a Ground School to help me just solidify that knowledge, and that's why the way a lot of people use it. Some people are told at their flight school, here's the book, read it, and they toss it across the table at you, and then you go home and go, because some instructors just don't want to teach ground. That's the real world. That's how it is. A lot of the smaller operations, particularly one-man operations, and a lot of times some of the older generation of pilots are the ones that go, just saying. And the young guys can do it too, right? Young guys and girls. So to kind of wrap that up, we're here to help you supplement the knowledge. And I think, to me, self-study is a hell of a lot harder than doing it with our help. And private pilot, for example, we go month to month. You can go monthly membership. It's cheap. You're going to spend somewhere between $300 to $500 an hour for dual instruction in the aircraft with your instructor. The private pilot course is only $49. Right now, to the end of the month, it's 50% off for the first month. So that's $29.50 that you can use 120 videos, 18 hours of training for $29.50.
24.
Okay, 24. $24.50? See? That's less than $25 right now with that discount. And along with that is a 30-day money-back, no-hassle guarantee. So you're welcome to go in there and try it. And anybody that wants to take any one of the monthly memberships, every one of those includes what we call the 24-hour test flight. We used to call it test drive. Now we call it test flight, right? I mean, it makes more sense to say test flight because we're a helicopter business, helicopter company. So the way any one of these monthly memberships, any of you out there can sign up, it does not build your credit card for 24 hours. I promise. I've checked it. We've checked it numerous times. You have a full 24 hours to go in, check out the training, and see exactly, yeah, I think this is going to help me. Or you look at it and go, yeah, it's not really what I'm looking for. Remove your credit card before the end of that 24-hour period, and you'll be billed nothing. And we part as friends. We always part as friends. You can always stay as long as you like. You can always leave anytime you like. You can unsubscribe anytime you can like. And you can come back anytime you like, all with a 30-day money-back, no-hassle guarantee. And the one thing that our operations manager, Brian Rutledge, who starts full-time on Monday, has always preached to me. He's like, Kenny, it's so cheap. Your prices are, in his opinion, are too cheap. He's like, for the wealth of information that you get in your course for $49 at the private pilot level is nothing. He goes, people should be jumping all over that at $49 a month. 1 hour at the flight school will cost you that much. And when you schedule a ground lesson, you got to make the schedule. You got to get in your car. You got to drive to the airport. You got to drag your books inside. Meet with your instructor, do whatever, pay him $50, and then drive back home again. Not saying that's bad, because some of the grounds you will have to do with your instructor to get signed off for the written test and the solo and to take your check ride, but you can limit those trips to the airport. So in turn, you can save money in the totality of the circumstance of what your rating is going to cost you. The more studying you do at home, the more you're going to benefit and the faster you are going to get through the training. I think that's the tip of the iceberg. When you ask me the question, how would it differ? Right there, I think, is a lot of reasons. And I hope I've given you enough reasons to sign up and check it out and see how you like it. If you're 6 hours in, then you kind of got, at least you got an idea. You've got started. You're kind of getting in the flow. You're looking at that big, overwhelming pile of books going, oh my God, I got to read that one, and I got to read that one, and I got to read that one, and I got to read that one. How in the hell am I going to ever retain all that stuff? We learn through repetition. We learn through going over and over and over and over. And Brian Rutledge, who is our operations manager, who we have long discussions, we talk all the time about. People have to understand, it's not just you pick up a book and you read it one time and you're done, okay? You learn through repetition. You learn from reading, learn from watching videos, one-on-one with your instructor, getting in the helicopter, driving home from a lesson, the light bulb comes on, you go, oh, now I get that concept. So it's not something that just happens overnight. Learning the knowledge to get through the rating and to be a safe and prudent pilot and pass your tests is through knowledge and applying yourself and working hard at it, and then continuing that knowledge, because we're always learning no matter how many years you're flying. I've been flying 20 years and I still learn. Every single time I go out, I learn something new. Every single time. Knowledge is power, man. Knowledge is freaking power. So I think I've covered that one pretty good. So I'm going to get ready to go through some rules to fly by, but before I go there, any big questions jumping up?
No, just some nice compliments.
Awesome. We got some people watching?
Yep.
All right, good. At the end, we'll take some questions if you guys have anything or girls have anything you want to talk about, because we're here live. We're here live for you. A lot of weird stuff going on in the world. Hopefully we've got a good crowd. People are going to be home watching videos. Now's a good time to study. You got a written test been hanging in the balance, get that darn thing done. You know you're a couple weeks or a month or two away from a check ride. You got time on your hands, log into ground school. And we're going to be doing some fun stuff this week and the next 2 weeks to be here for you. We all need to keep busy, keep working. This is a good opportunity for people to study. So we're going to ask one single question, a very easy question at the end of this live event today, and we're going to give away a t-shirt, since we got a whole bunch that we had for last week that a lot of them we didn't put out. So if you want to go to camera 2, Heather. We are going to talk about the general safe rules for flying a helicopter, okay? And these are general rules across the board. I don't care what aircraft you're flying, it doesn't matter, period. This is general safe rules. They're not regulation. They're rules. So let's go to the first one. Never dive lower collective, okay? If you want to go back to camera 1, Heather. Never dive. Basically what we're saying here is, and you'll hear this, you'll see this at your flight school, you never want to go a large forward abrupt input on this cyclic, okay? Because if you do, you can put yourself in what they call a low G situation. And we talk extensively about low G in helicopter land ground school. Your instructors are going to talk to you about it. When you go for your first flight in a Robinson, you're going to have the SFAR training, which basically part of that is never a large forward abrupt input, okay? We say never dive, lower collective. So let's say, the example I could think of is a legend in the industry who I did my private and commercial with. His question was, okay, Kenny, you're flying along and you're doing your things inside the cockpit and you look up and there's a cloud. What do? You lower collective to descend, okay? Here's the collective. It's in your left hand. You don't do this and dive underneath the cloud. You do this to start lowering the aircraft and you go a little bit of aft cyclic. An airplane can dive, and that's why we caution fixed wing pilots. Fixed wing pilots can do that. And we don't want you to make that same mistake in a helicopter because it is a dangerous situation. And again, this goes for every aircraft out there. Now, some are more susceptible to the low G than others, and that's a big, long subject. But this rule to fly by, never dive if you need to descend. You lower collective. To start to descend, when you lower, you actually go a little bit of aft cyclic, most generally. Okay, so never dive, lower the collective when you want to descend. Let's go to the next one, Heather. What do we have next? Stay above 500 feet, all right? This is a great rule. We'll go back to my camera. The general rule is 500 feet during the daytime, 1,000 feet at night, all right? This is something I learned as a private pilot, and I can tell you in the EMS industry that I worked in for 5 years, as a general rule, it applied as EMS pilots. We used that same basic private pilot rule, okay? The regulation's different. There's some actual verbiage on what's legal and illegal, and it deals with taking off and landing and undue hazards to persons or property on the surface. That's the regulation. What we're talking about with stay above 500 feet, we're talking about a general rule to help you stay clear of wires, towers, obstacles, trees, whatever the case is. Flying higher than 500 could many times be more appropriate. Flying along at 200 feet, going cross country, not a good idea. I flew with a guy one time, and he was a Vietnam era pilot. I went with him from Indiana to Michigan to deliver his helicopter up there somewhere. And this guy flew treetop level all the way there. And we made it safe, right? But it's like flying treetop level is not a good idea. It's just never, ever, ever a good idea. If you have an engine failure, you want at least 30 seconds, a minute to decipher where am I going to land, where am I going to go, what am I going to do? General safe rule, and you're going to hear this throughout your career. It's 500 feet during the day and 1,000 feet at night. What do we have next, Heather? Avoid overpitching collective, okay? So we'll go back to me. So again, the collective in your hand, you're gonna learn almost everything that we do in the helicopter is small, minute changes. And I'm gonna be over exaggerating here when I even do that, right? Most of those changes we're making with the collective, a lot of times they're just pressure changes. Now when you do, let's say, a practice auto rotation, or if you lost an engine, you had to do an auto rotation for real, the Robinson R22, you got to have that thing down in 2 seconds, okay? Helicopters with a higher inertia rotor system, like the beautiful old Instrom here, nice big heavy-duty rotor system, that helicopter you can do a little more of a do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Because of the high inertia system, you can do that. By getting too aggressive, over-pitching, either way can be dangerous. And one example would be in some of the smaller helicopters, if you overpitch, you pulled too much, you could ultimately stall the blades on the aircraft and basically kill yourself. So knowing right from the beginning that it's small changes with the collective, always smooth, never anything super abrupt, but also moving it too far. Overpitching, pulling too much all at the same time could get you into a very dangerous situation. So if you want to bring up the next one, Heather, what do we got next? Add throttle and lower collective. Okay, good. Come back to my camera, Heather. Basically what that's saying, anytime the RPM is low, we want you to be trained to add throttle and lower collective, because most likely when the RPM starts decreasing, you start losing your RPM, you're at a high angle of attack here on the rotor system. And of course we talk about it in detail inside helicopter landing ground school. These are general safe rules, so we're not going to dive heavy into it. But basically, we want you to be ingrained that if the RPM is low, it's down collective, roll on throttle. Because what happens is, as you go down on collective, it's decreasing that pitch and allowing the blades to speed up a little bit. And if the RPM is low, most generally, you can help it by adding a little bit of throttle as you're lowering that collective. Now, it can be different between any aircraft and any situation, but this is something that needs to be ingrained into your flying. So as you're learning and you're learning these control inputs, this is a general safe rule that you need to know and understand and live by. When RPM is low, the general recovery is going to be lower collective and add throttle, okay? Rules to fly by. I love these. These are from my notebook from way back. Don't remember who taught me those in the beginning, but that's where it comes from. What do we have next, Heather? Minimum airspeed 60 knots. I love this one. This is a great one. I can tell you, I'll just tell you, I started out, very first lesson was in a Schweitzer. Had a lesson or two in a Schweitzer, had a lesson or two in a Bell 47, got in an Enstrom at some point. So those would have been the first three that I flew. Did a lot of Schweitzer and a lot of Robinson for a while, and then Enstrom more once I got into commercial and CFI. Then I got out in the real world, started flying a Jet Ranger, and then I went to the EMS years later and flew EC-135 and BK-117. And the general rule that I found out since I wrote this in my notebook many years ago as a student, 60 is, I'm going to say 90% of the time, is a great number for many, many things in many, many aircraft. 60, for example, when you're doing orbits around a confined area and you're getting ready to land, you want to have 60 knots on your airspeed. In the Enstrom, I use 60 to start my approach. I also use a minimum of 60 during an auto rotation practice. In the Enstrom, some people like using 70, and sometimes I use 70, but we want at least 60. And in training with the gurus, they say, look, you got to have 60 in order for that flare to work out. It's always going to work out better if you keep a minimum of 60. So that number 60 is a really good general number that comes up for many aircraft for a lot of things. 60 is a normal climb out for most helicopters. For a normal climb, 60 and a 60 knots or 60 mile an hour and a 500 feet per minute climb is textbook. So 60 is always a good number, and especially if shit hits the fan, things are going wrong, horns are going off, helicopter's shaking, and you're trying to figure out what your corrective action is, shooting for 60 knots is going to always be a good plan for just about any aircraft. And I'm telling you, I wrote that down as a student pilot, and I can tell you after 20 years of flying as a student, as a commercial pilot, and as an instructor, 60 is such a great number that you will see many, many, many times, and when shit hits the fan, 60 is a great number to be a minimum on your airspeed. Okay?
That was easy.
All right, let's go to the next one. We only have probably a couple more. No over control and turbulence, okay? That's a good one. It's very easy when you start getting bumped around and beaten around in a helicopter. It's very easy to start over controlling, okay? So when you find yourself in turbulence, you want to slow down, number one, and depending on how heavy that turbulence is, your best option may be to get the thing on the ground, okay? So depending on whether you're just through a little bumpy patch, a cold front blowing through, whatever the case is, no over controlling in turbulence. If you over control the aircraft, you start trying to counteract it, you're just going to make things worse. Staying calm, staying cool, staying loose on the controls, and know if you start getting into some turbulence, and you will at some point in your career, you're going to get into some. Maybe you always use good pre-flight planning, But one day some weather comes through that you weren't expecting, and you get yourself in some high winds and some turbulence. I can tell you, you got to breathe in and out and minimize those control inputs just enough to try to keep the aircraft under control. Slow down, look for a spot to land, and do not get too crazy. Lots of different bad things can happen if you start getting, if you just start over controlling. And this is 80 phase of flight, even during all the maneuvers. And in the beginning, you're going to learn, you're going to be like this, and your instructor's going to be going, hey, easy, tiny little changes, okay? So same thing in flying. If you're out there and you find yourself in turbulence, do not over control. Breathe in and out, stay calm, and try to make those movements very small as you're working your way out of that turbulence, whether you're landing or it's improving or whatever the case may be. All right, another good one. So what we got next, Heather? No abrupt control inputs, okay? So, again, we kind of talked about it already with the collective, and we've talked a little bit about it with the cyclic. So this includes everything. Let's even, you got two pedals down here, right? So you got the pedals, you got the cyclic, and you got the collective in your left hand. I've had people argue this with me, right? Oh, but when you have an engine failure in R22, you got to slam that thing to the floor. Well, okay. I think there's a difference between slamming it to the floor and having it down in 2 seconds, okay? We know from the factory at Robinson, engine failure in R22, that collective needs to be at flat pitch in 2 seconds or less. So that might be the one time you could call it abrupt, but I don't even like to call it abrupt. I say nice and smooth down the floor, right? Jamming it through the floor of the aircraft, it's a lot what people do, but yes, you got to get it down. But in general, no abrupt control inputs, meaning everything we're doing during your auto rotation, you go to enter it, nice down collective, a little bit of aft cyclic, a little bit of right pedal. Starting a normal approach, a little bit of down collective, a little bit of right pedal, a little bit of aft cyclic. Every single thing that we do, there are always these tiny changes and tiny minute movements. And people, especially in the beginning, when you're nervous and you're learning, people over control, right? And then it can happen to you even as an experienced pilot. Heck, if I don't fly for a little while and I go out and I'll find myself with a death grip on the pedals, and then I'll be like, what are you doing? Release your leg pressure off there. That damn thing will go down the pattern. You can take your feet off the pedals and it doesn't go anywhere, right? You're just putting a little bit of trim in it. So every single control that we use, all of the inputs that we do, even the emergency stuff, are smooth control inputs. A quick stop, let's say you're going down the taxiway and an aircraft pulls out in front of you. A quick stop is aft cyclic. You're going to adjust collective as needed to put a flare on the helicopter, level it back out. Same thing at the beginning of the auto rotation, on the auto rotation on the way down, depending on what you're doing. You're turning, you're doing all kinds of things. They're still nice and smooth. Get to the end of that engine failure, hopefully you got an open spot there to ground. You're going to flare that helicopter. You're going to use the amount of collective that you need, the best you can do, and then you're going to level it out and you're going to cushion that thing onto the ground. But there's a difference between an emergency of going nice and smooth and going like this, So, no abrupt control inputs is exactly what it says. Everything you're going to learn to do happens nice and smooth, and the control inputs are nice and smooth. There's never a reason for an abrupt control input. All right. Got any more left there, Heather? Low G general aft cyclic. All right, love talking about this one. We mentioned low G a little bit ago. We talked about low G extensively inside helicopter landing ground school that you can, use to prepare yourself for all these ratings and keep yourself safe and prudent pilot. So basically on the low G general aft cyclic, the key 3 terms, and you'll see this in written testing and you'll be asked this by instructors. The key terms here, gentle aft cyclic. Low G happens when you put the aircraft, could be from, let's say you did abruptly go forward and you get that over the top feeling, kind of like going over the top of a roller coaster. It can turn into this situation called low G. Things can go really bad and you can be dead before you ever hit the ground if you don't correctly compensate for low G. So when we say low G, gentle aft cyclic, key 3 terms. Gentle aft cyclic. It's gentle aft cyclic to reload the rotor system and then correct for the roll. Now that could be different depending on the make and model of the aircraft you're flying. I'm not going there because this is the key term. This is something to live by no matter what helicopter you're flying. If you get yourself in a low G position, it needs to be ingrained in your mind. I'm light in the seat. I feel strain against the seat belts. Ooh, things are getting weird. Gentle aft cyclic to reload and then correct for the roll. Not abrupt. If you go abrupt, you could possibly chop the tail boom off or possibly snap off the rotor head. There's all kinds of bad things that could happen and you're dead before you even hit the ground. So it's very important to learn. If you find yourself in a low G situation, gentle aft cyclic. Those 3 terms. I think that's it.
Let's see.
I don't think there's any more slides after that. That's it. All right. So there's what I wanted to cover for that young man's question. There's what I wanted to cover with the control inputs.
That was easy.
Now, I'll see if Heather's got any questions. I normally have it up here on the screen, but I don't see it right now. I'll walk over there so we can hear your...
A lot of nice comments, Michael. We're
Awesome. Thank you for all the nice comments. Awesome. Haven't taken my introductory flight yet. Saw the sale Kenny had last week. Signed up. That was easy. Thanks, Kenny, and happy belated birthday. Thank you, Zach. Awesome.
And Michael saying, asked if the easy buttons ever got ordered. I told him we were working on it.
We are working on it. I'm still trying to get them here before the end of this month so we can give them out. So we're working on that. The process is partially completed, and if we're lucky, maybe we'll see them next week.
CW Fox.
Would like to see a future discussion of density altitude and the importance of it. I'm pretty sure we cover density altitude within a helicopter on ground school, but we can certainly cover that one of these days. I'm sure we're going to be, let me go over here for a second, back to the camera, and I'll come back and check comments. This is one thing I can guarantee you. Not everybody sees our videos every day. Monday morning is Brian Rutledge's first day with Helicopter on Ground School. And I guarantee you, you're going to see more detailed stuff coming to Helicopter on Ground School than you've ever seen. I'm a basic kind of guy. I like the basics. I like just what you got to know. Brian likes it deeper and more thick. And so we're going to try to work together between my like the basics and a lot of these things we're going to rebuild. And let's say maybe density, altitude, DA. Let's say, okay, I'm sure that will probably get rebuilt. Whatever we have will be even better. And what we're going to do is, when we reshoot stuff, we're going to go fully into detail and add all the extra stuff that Brian wants to add. And then I will do something like, okay, here's where we're going to take you with it. And here's what we want you to know in case you've got an examiner who's just like his reputation is to dig and dig and dig and dig and dig, right? So we're going to give you absolutely everything we can give you, and then I'm going to say something like, okay, worst case scenario, you're going to get asked all of that. He's probably at the private level is not going to dig in that deep, but we still want you to know and understand that information. So the beauty is, and Brian and I discussed this, is a lot of you are going for commercial and CFI. So we want to teach you at the private level. We want to take you even maybe a little farther than you need to because we want you to be ready for that commercial and help get you ready for that. But we also want you to be the best you can be at the private level. We have had such great success with Helicopter on Ground School. It's friggin' amazing. We're going to want to make it even freaking better. So if you walk into a check ride somewhere and you've legitimately used our course and you've legitimately went through it and you've went through it with a fine-tooth comb and you've watched everything, that you're going to go in there and people, I think I can say now pretty much, I'm sure there's a lot of examiners we know, people are going, wow, the examiner said it has one of the best check rides I've ever had. And they'll tell their examiner, I've been using that Helicopter on Ground School, and they'll go, good. It's a good thing because you did really well, right? We just want to take a product that's already really is really, really good and make it even freaking better, okay? That is the goal. So you're gonna like what you see coming. We're gonna be reshooting so many of these things. Brian has a lot of downloads. He's like, a lot of these lessons, he wants to rebuild a lesson and then put a download below the video so that you can watch the video and then you can download that particular subject, so you can go, okay, like a little cheat sheet that we use to build the video, we're going to have a downloadable form in there that you can actually, if you want to print things off and make your own notebook or areas you're struggling in, or if you want to download them all, we don't care. We're going to have these pieces in there. So we're giving you the video audio presentation. We want you to also have something you can take away from it and review and go, oh yeah, they talked about those 9 rules to fly by. Yeah, I remember talking about that. Or, oh yeah, hey, there's that one. So you're going to see lots and lots of downloads and a lot more detail, right? And on one hand, I feel like, well, maybe I just didn't do good enough. That's not the case. I'm telling myself that, right? Because I built it alone. Now it's time to take what I built over the last few years or more and just make it even better. Just absolutely make it even better. All right, I'll go back over here and see what else we got.
No questions, just nice,
Awesome.
nice talk amongst themselves.
Awesome. What was that last one? Something about abruptly. Anything? If you did abruptly, you ruin the setup. Yep. Awesome. Well, I have a habit of going on too long. Promised we'd be here today. Maybe we'll fly tomorrow. Maybe if the weather's better. Weather's looking iffy the next couple days. So, but we'll come up with something to do. So the giveaway we're going to do today before we go is very simple. And before I give her the t-shirt away.
Just our true hoggies.
Yes. It's going to be an easy question. And some of you are going to type it in there right away. First person to type in the number from the question will get the t-shirt. Last thing I want to talk about. I announced yesterday when we were out flying, Brian, Heather, and I discussed, and we brought the sale back. It ended March 15th. If anybody signed up since then, we'll refund 50%, which I think we might have had 1 or 2 sign up after the sale. I don't even know. If you did sign up between the 15th and now, or yesterday when we announced it, we decided to bring back the sale until the end of March. You know, we've now got 13 days left of the self-quarantine, and of course it could go on and who knows what's going to happen in the world, but people are home, needing stuff to do, and I didn't want to be cheesy because I like to do a sale and end it and say I'm done. But I talked to Heather and Brian and we all agreed, like, you know what, since people are home, let's extend the sale to the end of the month. That way people have a chance to get it. People were emailing Heather, oh, I missed the sale, and they were emailing me too, and it always happens. So we brought it back till the end of the month. It's $24.50 then for 1 month of private pilot with a 24-hour test flight and a 30-day money back guarantee. And when I first asked Brandon, he goes, well, but people are going to like kind of be tight on money right now. I go, well, true, but if they're training, it's still pretty cheap. He goes, you know what? You are right. We're not asking you if you don't have any money to spend money. That's not what we're doing. We're saying if you're off and you've been thinking about getting ground school and you'd like to, now's a great time. We make it even easier. We're kind of doing our part to give back, and we want to keep busy every day. So we want to be here for you live several times a week, and we want people to sign up, and we'll do some training and do some fun stuff. And so we brought it back to the end of the month. One more time, it's KK50. That's it. The code, you can use it in the coupon box during checkout for the private monthly, the commercial monthly, instrument monthly, or CFI. It's that easy. And that does still apply to the big professional pilot package. We're going to keep that there to the end of the month for those that have been saving. You know, we've had people that go, man, I finally got it. I've been wanting to get it for a while, and I couldn't turn it down at 50. And at first, I didn't know I wanted to go 50 because that's cutting it half price. And we did it for the big celebration. I keep hinting to a number. Let's give the t-shirt away. Here you go. Very easy question for those of you that know us. How many years has Helicopter Online Ground School been in business? It's the key number to our celebration.
It's our birthday celebration.
Yeah, it's our birthday celebration. So how many years? First one to type in the number in live chat on YouTube is the winner of a t-shirt.
We're getting 8s.
It is, you're getting 8s? Yes, 8 years online. March 1st, 2012. You thought it was how many?
It's 12.
No, it's 8. It's 8 years. Who's the first to answer?
Clarence.
Clarence. Hey, Clarence. We know, I'm sure you'll want another t-shirt. You've got a hoodie. Maybe you don't even have a t-shirt.
Maybe you don't have one, please.
Hey, Heather, Clarence, you won the t-shirt. If you want to get a different size for one of your family members or friends, that's fine too. If you want it for yourself, whatever you want to do, email heather@helicopterground.com and she will ship out your shirt to you. Like I say, we just got a load in last week. So good job, Clarence. Told you that'd be an easy answer. 8 years online.
I was thinking 12.
I don't know where you're getting 12. What were you doing before I got here today? Because it ain't 12. We've been talking about 8 for...
Maybe I was thinking 2012.
You were probably thinking 2012. That was when we launched. March 1st, 2012. So it was a big, it was a big discount party for the first 2 weeks of the month. But things slowed up last week just to the developments going on in the world. And Heather wasn't feeling so good a few days. And so last week we weren't live playing treatment, doing all the things we wanted to do just because everything that was happening. And honestly, the best thing for me is to keep working every single day. And flying the last few days has been tremendously helpful for me. I come in a little bit down and then I go out and fly and I go, yes, thank God, Luckily, we still have the ability to do that. And as of right now, we have no restrictions at the airport or getting fuel. So flying makes me feel good, damn it. And it's been fun. Oh, did I tell you about the weather? Did I just open this about the weather? I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the reason we didn't fly today because they were reporting 4 miles, 800 broken, 4,000 overcast. I went outside and looked and I'm like, that ain't 4 miles. And the ceiling doesn't look very good either. So if they're reporting 500 broken, there's probably crap at 400 or 500. It just isn't worth it. So yes, the buttons are on order. The order's partially done. Hopefully we can see them next week. When the weather's iffy, just don't go. Call it off.
That was easy.
And that's it. All right, we'll get out here so everybody can get on with their day. Subscribe to the channel, click the bell, because the next 2 weeks we're going to intermittently go live and do some giveaways, try to come up with some fun stuff. I told everybody yesterday in the video. We're going to try to think of some fun stuff to do, maybe a little bit different than what we've been doing next week and the following week, since we'll have Brian full time. Brian is in California and was going to come the end of the month for a week here, but we've decided with what's going on in the world, Brian wants to stay home near his family, and I said, I get that. And he said, how about if I come out when things calm down and the world calms down a little bit, I'll come to Indiana. So the beauty is we can bring Brian in through our software during the live event. So it's just almost like he's in the room with us. We can bring him up on the screen, and we've done that before. And we did that with an inadvertent IMC presentation that we did. And we brought Brian in from California home on his laptop, and it was just like basically he's in the same room with you, right? So we're going to think of some fun stuff to do next week and the following week that includes Brian logging in from California from either his smart device or his laptop, and we'll bring him into the software, and we're going to come up with some test your knowledge kind of things where you can compete against each other to win a prize. It's probably going to be some flashcard stuff. That's what we talked about. He's like, dude, you got these flashcards that I built for all my ratings, and he's let the other guys in his law enforcement unit use them over the years to get ready for their testing, and apparently luckily they've always given him back to him. So we might do some flashcard, just like testing your knowledge kind of stuff, and it's gonna be cool. It's gonna be fun. So everybody keep doing the best you can do. Keep your heads up, stay busy, hit the books, go down below. Helicopterground.com link is below. The code's down there too. Go sign up, take us for a test flight, subscribe, click the bell. And that little thumbs up thing underneath the video, where that thumb's like this, click that. And if you don't like it, click that twice. Peace out.